Controversial former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Listen to this.
Was Sheriff Joe convicted for doing his job? That's what. He should have had a jury, but you know what? I'll make a prediction. I think he's going to be just fine, okay? But I won't do it tonight because I don't want to cause any controversy.
Let's bring back our panel. We have Chris Cillizza and John Avlon. We want to bring in CNN political analyst Alex Burns, who just broke a New York Times article about President Trump's feud with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, which we'll get to in a moment. First, Joe Arpaio, John Avlon. I mean, he's beyond controversial. He's been, punished. I mean, for unapologetically racially profiling, among other things.
Yeah, among other things. I mean, Arpaio is sort of a great exemplar of that whole militiaman movement, the Minutemen movement down on the border that was ostensibly trying to cease illegal immigration, but ended up stomping on the civil rights of Latino citizens and other folks. And the investigation, by the way, that led to this conviction, which the president's hinting he's going to overturn, dates back to the George W. Bush administration, folks. So if you conspiracy theorists out there who think this is some kind of kangaroo court driven by partisan agendas, go check your facts first. I know that's unfashionable these days, but let's just do it for the heck of it.
Also, look, I mean,
and he was campaigning with the president, too.
Right. It wouldn't make sense for President Trump to be hard on Joe Arpaio, Chris Cillizza, because he represents everything that he was trying to spoon-feed the people in the audience last night. And if you take the president at his word, which is he's all about him and what works for him, he will not surrender the me to the we in any way, big or small. Why wouldn't he support Joe Arpaio?
Remember, one of the fundamental rules of Trumpism is if you like me, I like you. Go back to Vladimir Putin. Well, he said nice things about me, so why wouldn't I say nice things about him? That's the fundamental default. If you are nice to Donald Trump will be nice to you until you stop being nice to him. It really isn't much more complicated than that. Joe Arpaio has said that their relationship goes back years, said that Donald Trump sent him notes thanking him for his leadership on birtherism. Yeah. He was an early supporter. He formally endorsed him in Iowa right before the caucuses in 2016. This is seen as a big thing. Donald Trump brought him to Iowa to endorse him. And it's just one other thing about the way in which Trump presents this. It's a classic, stay tuned, wait until the next episode, right?
That's right.
Well, who knows what'll happen, but I think he's going to be okay. Right. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, this is, this is him. This is Donald Trump, reality star.
He likes
Make sure
the
you
tease.
tune in for the cliffhanger.
Right. I mean, he's the master of the tease. In fact, he did, Chris Cillizza, he did another one last night. While Congress is so worried and hand-wringing about government shutdown, President Trump seemed to tease that. Let's watch.
The obstructionist Democrats would like us not to do it, but believe me, if we have to close down our government, we're building that wall. Let me be very clear to Democrats in Congress who oppose a border wall and stand in the way of border security. You are putting all of America's safety at risk. You're doing that. You're doing that.
So that was a message to Democrats, but I'm sure Mitch McConnell was listening to that the president thinks that the government shutdown is one of the answers.
Right, and that's a big deal. Though it's sort of obvious to say it, but Republicans right now are deeply, deeply concerned that when they get back to Washington after Labor Day, they are going to need to fund the government, raise the debt ceiling, and hopefully get some kind of traction on another issue like tax reform. They see Trump as not having been helpful in any way on any of those subjects so far. So to have him out there, even Republicans who in general support the idea of maybe border wall, but enhanced border security of some kind, to have the president out there drawing not quite a red line, but pretty close, and saying, I would rather see no government funding at all than see government funding without the wall. That makes it awfully difficult for Republicans to put together the votes on their own side. And ironically, it probably means that Republicans will have to rely that much more on Democrats to fund the government.
So What is the inside scoop about what's going on between the president and the Senate Majority Leader? You know, McConnell's silence is often taken as acceptance, but what is the reality from your reporting?
The reality is that the silence extends to McConnell's relationship with the president. They've not spoken in 2 weeks. The president berated McConnell over health care and especially over the Russia issue in that private phone call earlier this month. And what they're saying about each other to the people around them while they're not talking to each other is as stark as it has ever been. That McConnell, who has never been a huge fan of the president and has been up front with folks for a while about feeling like the president is not the governing partner, the ideal governing partner, at this point is pretty close to saying that he's given up.
So who wins that battle royale between the president and the Senate Majority Leader?
Well, we're watching something kind of fascinating, unprecedented, which is a basic inversion of the American system where you've got a series of people, even within the administration, coddling and trying to contain a president they view as impetuous and impulsive rather than the president being a father figure. And with a larger context of government, you've got, even though Republicans have unified control, Mitch McConnell and other Republicans privately, increasingly loudly, Corker publicly questioning his fitness for office. That's very significant given the context in which you can see a president have power challenged, not just institutionally, but more fundamentally. That's a serious step that, people are starting to discuss openly. That is a dangerous thing to do. But, last night on CNN's air, Jim Clapper did it as well. There's a former DNI who served in every administration from Kennedy to Obama and doesn't do it lightly. Bob Corker doesn't do that lightly. McConnell may be doing it privately, but that carries enormous weight given how much of an institutionalist he is. So watch the space. This is significant.
But at the end of the day, Cillizza, you have talk and you have action. You can condemn them slowly in different terms to different degrees, but at the end of the day, it's about what do they do when they get back here. How does the president not win in as much as these Republicans have to try to empower their own agenda? That's how they'll get reelected. That's how they show progress. No matter how they have a relationship or don't with the president, at the end of the day, isn't that the reality? That they have to try and get it done, no matter whether they want to do it with him or not.
And largely speaking, they have a similar agenda. I mean, this is how they justified backing him in the first place. Alex is exactly right. I mean, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump are oil and water, politically speaking. I know they're in the same party technically, but that's about where the similarities end. But the theory of the case was, look, he has an agenda much more similar to ours than Hillary Clinton does. You're right, Chris, that so tax reform, immigration of some sort, maybe they try health care reform again, sure. But in your question of who wins, I think Mitch McConnell probably wins because Mitch McConnell's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a serious challenge as leader. John Cornyn, who's second to him from Texas, has already said he's for him. McConnell's up in 2020. I don't think he's going to lose there. Donald Trump has a lot more chance of losing in 2020 than does Mitch McConnell. So that's the thing about institutions. They remain while individuals pass through. So near term, you're correct. Longer term, I think a classic example and another way that they're different. Mitch McConnell always playing the long game. Donald Trump playing the shortest of all games, which is a day-to-day strategic chaos.
So, Alex, of course, Mitch McConnell's married to Elaine Chao in Donald Trump's cabinet. I mean, to be a fly on the wall at those dinner conversations between that couple.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people who are close to McConnell, who we spoke to in the course of reporting the story, sort of played down that angle, said that he's a master of sort of dissociating the personal from the political. But the way he was talking about the president's remarks last week on Charlottesville was more heated than people typically hear from Senator McConnell, and it may not be an accident that happened after his wife was standing next to the president during that whole show.
And I want the folks, McConnell actually is very passionate about civil rights, goes back to his history, and certainly, obviously, his relationship with his wife. But I wonder if the folks in the rally understand that the people who know Trump best, who worked with him most closely, whether in his administration or in the Senate, in private are not more polite and admiring of the president than they are in public. That there is a continuity of commentary about the president from the people